keep forgetting what it is.
We're trying. Oh, there it is, and we're live. What's up, everybody? Attack of the Androids. About to get started right here, right now.
Right now.
Right now. Put the kids to bed, because it's time for Attack of the Androids. I don't know why people listen to that. Right.
Hide your women. We're coming.
Warned about little green men. Now, they're coming. They're coming for you. Prepare for the attack of the android.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today is Monday, April 18, 2016. It's episode 183 of Tag the Androids. Every week, Monday evenings, right here live, tagtheandroids.com. Check it out. I'm Matt Lee. That guy right there pointing, that's Eric. How's it going, Eric?
Oh, it's a great day, Matt. Happy to be here with you.
Hey, happy to have you here with us. Also joining us next to him on the Hangout, Joey Kelly. What's up, Joey?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a wonderful day here in the United States of America, as witnessed by the flag behind me. And, Eric, you couldn't sound more enthusiastic if you tried.
Hey, those of you that don't know, Eric sets an alarm in the morning before work so that he can do this podcast with us. He's probably the only podcaster in history that does a show before work. I mean, I couldn't go to work after this. I'd just be like, I'm done. Going to bed.
It's 5 a.m., folks. Like this, I love this podcast so much that it ruins my entire day.
All like 1,000 people that download this shit every month, they appreciate that because you pretty much make the show. We should just call this the Eric Finkenbeiner Android Hour or something with Fred.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what?
That sounds
Pretty good.
Funny. That does sound really good. It actually does.
All right. We'll
because there's enough people out there would think that we were making up his last name.
No, that's his real last name. It's probably not how it's pronounced, but that's his name. Nah.
The Germans might take issue with your pronunciation.
While we're talking about it, if you direct your attention here to the Hangout, do a little screen share magic. Oh, hello, what's that? It's Google Music, play.google.com/music/listen /podcast. That's right. It's not on the app yet. I haven't gotten it on my app yet, but I imagine the next update they push out, which we just saw drive updates, we saw something else they updated today, so it should be coming soon. But if you're a subscriber, if you pay them every month like Eric and I do, you may already have this in the browser. There's a new section called podcasts, and oh look, there's the hotbox, there's security now, there's Attack the Android. Look at that. So yeah, it's kind of cool. You can go in here and then you can subscribe, and then, yeah, you can listen to it right in there just like you would any other thing in Play Music. So we submitted quite a while ago, so it's cool that they're just now starting to roll that out. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot, and I want to talk to you guys about it. What does this mean for third-party apps like Beyond Pod or Pocket Casts or whatever?
Well, it certainly puts not a death blow, but it certainly makes 90% of the people that are going to listen to you think about not have to think about downloading an app to get to you. So
right. It's like Stitcher, but you don't have to download Stitcher unless you're already using it, because if you're already using Play Music, it's going to just be another tab right in your app. So it's
exactly.
Cool.
I don't think that it's going to necessarily draw people away from the third parties, but they may not grow anymore, or maybe not as fast a pace.
They might have to, right? If this just remains basic like Listen was, and this is much better than Listen already. Yeah. I mean, just from using it today in the browser, but it'll make them have to do something different, right? So that people still need that app, like Beyond Pop.
What are the main things? Like, one of the main things that I use in these podcasting apps, like I recently switched over to Pocket Casts, and I love that it looks like it learns my habits. It knows what I listen to on what days, automatically downloads them. It has a sleep timer, which I think is essential. So, like, there are certain things that I've never really liked Google Play Music, the app, but there are certain things that the app would need to do in order to switch me over to it.
Like what?
Like, have those things.
What things? I wasn't listening. I was showing people what this looks like.
Goodness. Yeah, like sleep timers, I think, are huge. Like, that's the one thing I really like. One problem with
used
podcasts
that,
is
Eric. I've never in my life used that.
I think Shane would back me up on this because he's actually the one that introduced me to these things called sleep phones, which is sort of like a headband with little speakers inside. Because I use it to help me fall asleep, especially on nights where I have to get up for work like crazy early.
You strap on that and your sleep apnea machine, and you just look like Bane or something.
I look like Darth Vader.
Melissa, I'm sorry for that.
Yes.
Sounds like Darth Vader looks like 7 of 9 on a really bad day.
And then "Come and Get Your Love" starts playing in the background. It's very hot.
But yeah, it looks cool. It'll be interesting to see how and what else they do with it and what they do to promote podcasts. And it looks like there'll be a lot of analytics as far as on the podcast hub, where you go to dashboard and everything. There was a message on there when I logged in today that said I think April 25th is when the first set of stats would be active or something. So I'm sure you'll get all the cool Google Analytics stuff that you do if you're an artist in the Play Music Hub and you have music submitted there. There's all sorts of stats and everything you can see. So I'm sure a lot of that will carry over to podcasts.
What kind of stats do you see? Just outside of download numbers and stuff?
Streams, downloads, purchases if people buy it, stuff like that.
Nice.
I could probably show it actually here.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but the metrics would be interesting to see. I mean, we use on our site we use the Blueberry, right?
Yep.
So that's somewhat, that's good if people are downloading it. Is that from the site, or what does that actually count?
You redirect the link to the podcast through Blueberry, which then gives you a link counter and whatnot, and gives you some.
So it would be the same for iTunes. It should be everything then, right?
It should be.
Should be.
Shane Brady joining us. Also, if you're watching, here's what it looks like, at least on the Artist Hub for music. And I don't know if this is what it'll look like for podcasts or not, but this is just the kind of little things they show you. You can see order details, previews, and subscription, and then you can download all of it if you want it, and they have it for each month.
Matt, did you get Attack of the Androids in the...
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We were mentioning that Google's going to provide stats and analytics for it, but we were kind of speculating on what those would look like, so I was showing...
Oh, it's not up yet for you guys?
No, they said April 25th, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
But
So,
yeah,
to be fair, right now there's not a whole lot in there. So,
and there's only been one podcast, The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, that I searched for in there that wasn't on there. Like the Duncan Trussell show, Sword and Scale, Twit shows, all of the other stuff I listen to has been on there, which is cool.
I wonder if Wicked Nerdy's on there.
So what do you guys think of the product? Because I've seen some confusion as to what people are expecting versus what it is.
I think it gives them a chance to be able to make some cool stations based around this kind of content rather than music, because they do have people curating playlists for music. So it'd be cool to see something like what XM Satellite Radio does with their channels, like a comedy one and all that, but be a podcast.
Right, so I've seen people complain that they can't add their own feeds, that they can't switch directly from Pocket Cast to use this, and I thought Google was pretty upfront that this was not a Pocket Casts, type replacement. That this was more like the Stitcher model, where they're trying to create stations and.
Right. If you use Google Play at all, Play Music, you just know that there's just another tab in there, and it's podcasts. You're not adding feeds or anything like that, not yet at least.
Yeah, I mean, I've added a few, and it's not as good an interface if you're a power podcast listener. It's not as good as Pocket Cast, but I don't know. It seems like I still use Stitcher even though I use Pocket Cast because I just have some subjects that I'm like, all right, I just want to search this, and maybe it's a podcast I only want to listen to once because it's talking about that subject. And that's how I find all my Sasquatch-based podcasts is through Stitcher.
It seemed like for me that's where that use case was. Like Beyond Pod was the shows I want to listen to every episode, so I have it auto-get. Stitcher is there for things I want to dip into and just catch an episode of, but not necessarily want to add the feed to, you know.
Yeah, and Pocket Cast is not good at here's an episode. Just listen to one episode, right? It's not built around that. You can do it, but it's a little clunkier for that. And I just say Pocket Cast is, I think, the best pure pocket podcast player out there. But I'm interested in seeing once it's on the mobile app, how this is going to fit into my my listening habits. Because right now I only get the right now, what do you guys have in your library that you can listen to?
Well, for me personally, not to jump over you, Shane, but might actually get me back into podcasts. Because despite doing this show and one other every week, I very rarely listen to them. Because, well, one, I'm on the show. I know what we said. And, I mean, I was here. I've just stopped listening to them for a couple of reasons. One, I ran out of time in various parts of my life, and now that I have more time, I've forgotten about it. So now this is going to possibly draw me back into that podcast world. I just subscribed, pardon me, to Security Now again, which used to be one of my favorite shows. And now that I don't have to download another app, which I found to be extremely annoying and never worked well, now this just may work for me.
Downloading apps is really hard. I feel your pain.
Oh, you know what I mean. It was downloading it, configuring it, making it work.
It's
hard.
It's real hard.
I hate you. I hate you and your cable internet.
It's also very easy when you with traditional podcast players to get a podcast rut, so to speak. Like you just listen to the same ones over and over again. And discovery is good in Pocket Cast, but it's not probably like already looking in the Getting Lost in a Story. I've seen 3 podcasts I've never seen before, never even heard of before. That maybe I'll listen to now. So I think it's gonna be pretty good for discovery. Do you guys think this is aimed at people like us who are, maybe podcast power users, or like I don't know. My wife doesn't listen to podcasts, but maybe she'll listen to this now.
What we have to understand is that as Android has grown, representing one of our other articles says 81% of the market share, which in theory means that you've got Google on at least the vast majority of devices. As that has come to its own, we've passed geeks, we've passed people that know what a podcast is, we've passed all of this other stuff, and we're now hitting general populace that doesn't care about the tech and doesn't care about how the content gets created. They just want to consume it. And this is definitely not a move towards the power user. This is a move to make it easier for the grandmothers and the mothers and the 13-year-old kids to get on to podcasts.
It's making it more general, right?
Exactly.
Like people know what podcasts are these days, so it's cool. I think as a podcaster, I think it's great to have another avenue to throw our stuff out on.
Definitely, it's not going to hurt us in any way.
So, I think it's. I think there were some podcasts who got in early on Stitcher that were able to build up audiences pretty quickly that wouldn't have.
That's true. We should never have an audience.
No, I mean, no, but I'm saying it kind of opens up it just gives some a chance for some new blood to get out there, because there are a lot of good podcasts out there that are very hard to find these days. And I don't think, Matt, even though you joke about it, I think weren't there a couple years, wasn't Stitcher out a couple years before even you got on?
No, we started in 2008.
Oh, okay.
Might have been around, but we definitely got
I think
as soon as there was a chance to, because it's as many avenues as you can cover, so the better. What, Eric?
I think the point about discoverability is probably the biggest thing, and something like I was thinking about, but I didn't really put enough thought into it, I think. And Google does, especially with things like AdWords, all their advertising related stuff. It could also open a very interesting avenue for podcasts who want to maybe, I don't know, pay to come up, as more recommendations or things like that, which could help you build an audience if you're just starting out.
Well, do you like their music recommendations? Because I find that most of the time it's pretty on point. So if they can apply those same algorithms based on what you subscribe to, based on what you don't subscribe to, but you download or stream or whatever, they could build you a pretty decent recommendation engine for podcasts.
I feel it's tougher for me to do that. Like, it's easier with me to do that with music because I can listen to, a typical song is anywhere between like 3 and 4 minutes.
The time
I can quickly know if I like it. But a podcast, if it's an hour, like that's a big commitment. So discoverability is harder with podcasts.
It's all about how you look at it, though, Eric. You can sit down in Shadowgun Dead Zone and play 6 matches and be halfway there. So it's all real.
I think even with podcasting, you might even need to listen to an episode a few times before you get the hang of it. So if a podcast comes up a couple times or a couple different episodes come up in recommendations, which I'm seeing already in Google's stuff, that could go a long way toward getting you hooked into a podcast as well. So
good.
Yeah, I mentioned before you came on, Shane, that like the app experience is going to be a big thing for me because I used to use BeyondPod, I use Pocket Cast now. If it doesn't have like certain features, then I probably will only use the web version. But
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the app version. So I use Stitcher a lot at night listening. I joked about I find all my Sasquatch podcasts through Stitcher, but that's actually true. If I want to listen to something goofy,
this is for real.
Yeah, if I actually want to just listen to something goofy to fall asleep to, I look up Squatch on Stitcher and see what comes up.
I actually record Shane's voice and then have that playing when I. It's nice.
He's just saying Sasquatch over and over again.
Sasquatch.
But
it makes you laugh and lulls you to sleep.
But the only other service I think that's competing with this I can think of is Stitcher, right?
Well, iTunes, right? On the other side, they've had podcasts in their thing forever.
Right, but they don't. I don't think they do any of the radio station stuff, do they?
I don't use iTunes. I don't.
They do iTunes either.
I think.
I've seen it on a few of my customers' machines. They are starting to go into radio stations type ideas.
Yeah, but I think that's still only with music. I don't think anything for podcasts. And they spun podcasts off into a separate app, and then it just.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Either way,
but you got to remember, from Apple's point of view, they want to control the experience. So if you're allowing people to listen to something that they don't control, that's inherently contradictory to the Apple philosophy.
Well, they don't control this, and it's in iTunes, so shh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of E for explicit tags in Google Play for my recommendations too, which
all are.
That's not all Apple. That's not all that Apple friendly. So
I don't like censorship. And actually, recently they changed that. Like, you could either just not say, or you could be explicit or not. And they just changed that recently to where you have to say yes or no. So that may be why you're seeing a lot more of it.
Yeah. Anyway, Stitcher is the only competitor that I know of, and they have first of all, the app kind of sucks, Stitcher. They had a huge outage. I don't know if you guys. Well, Matt, you probably know. A couple of weeks ago.
No, I didn't notice, but
they were out. They were completely down for 4 or 5 days.
What?
Yeah,
wow.
Completely down. They do some transcoding of the audio, so it's not the audio that you upload.
Yeah, because they intersperse ads and stuff into it, don't they?
I actually don't come across that too much. They have ads in the app. Like, you get these awful interstitials.
Yeah, there's not ads in the show, though.
But I think they reserve, and I think Google does too, they reserve the right to do that in between episodes and all that, which would make total sense. But the Stitcher service is not great, and I think I've heard complaints from podcast creators about terms and all that a few years ago, that there was a big thing. The Nerdist didn't like it the way it was being done either. So Google has an opportunity to steal some of the artwork, because I don't think people are going to leave Stitcher. They'll make
podcasts from Apple and Stitcher.
But I think there's definitely some room in the market for somebody who's maybe not transcoding all the audio, who doesn't go down for 5 days.
It sounded good too. I was listening to some episodes today while I was playing some Shadowgun Dead Zone, and it sounded great.
Yeah, though I didn't hear the English resuming episode voice that you do at Stitcher all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of shooting things, Matt, did you see this article, or did you put this in here about Counter-Strike?
Oh, I was thinking something else. Yeah, no. That's cool that somebody did it. I don't think anyone will use it.
Heck no.
But
for those that aren't aware, basically Counter-Strike 1.6, which is, I think, one of the older versions of Counter-Strike, has been ported semi-successfully to Android. It requires a custom side-loaded APK and a whole bunch of trickery, and you have to have an original copy of the game.
And
so that just... Huh?
Virgin Blood.
Yes, amongst other things. You also have to have the holy water of the... narcoleptic Sasquatch and 2 or 3 other things. Anyway,
so it's just a good practice, and just because you can. I mean, it's cool.
Right.
And now it's just like, all right, nobody's gonna remember that time wasted. But
right, no one is ever going to use this, but it is yet another little stab in the heart of the we can't do this on Android.
Is this just like nerdy coders just like flopping it out on the table and being like, oh yeah, well, I did Flappy Bird on a watch, and this kid's like, oh yeah, I did fucking
Counter-Strike on a tablet,
on a Kindle Fire, like
right. Well, next it'll be, hey, I've got Halo playing on a TI 83 Plus
on my
calculator.
I'm pretty sure though that if you own NVIDIA equipment, you could just stream this to your device from your PC, the regular game. It'd be just fine.
Yeah, you can stream
probably
that came out around that time. It's just whether or not they offer it,
Yeah.
Well, I believe, like, I scrolled through the video a little bit, that this person is also running a server, so that might be the thing. Like, it's
not going to connect to any like old school Counter-Strike servers that are still around, which I assume there still are. I'm sure there's still people that play that.
I played Counter-Strike relatively recently, I think.
Still? Yeah? What version's it on?
Man, I don't know.
I can't even remember if I ever played Counter-Strike.
I liked...
I mean...
Excuse me.
Yeah. Can work home with you, Matt?
Yeah, I found an article that I wanted to talk about with Eric here, because I know he's a huge fan of emojis, and I am as well. Try and just kind of communicate back and forth using only emojis. It pretty well works for the most part. So there's going to be some changes in the emojis for Android N, Android N-word. Not sure what that's going to be called, but yeah. Says that they're largely getting away from these weird, freaky blobs, whatever that means. And I'll show you. Check this out. So here's what they look like now. Maybe this is what they look like now. And then whoa! Huh?
Oh my God, they're so different.
Huh? Huh? They made them more elongated.
More gumdroppy.
Look at the one with hearts. It's like a lump, and then it's weird.
Yeah, the new one looks like it has a teardrop underneath the eye. I'm not sure if that's...
He caught a case since last time we talked here. This one went from 2 teardrops to just 2 big ones on each side instead of 2. That's nice.
It's a
I'm just
teardrop for
saying,
every
the
man.
teardrop under the eye tattoo is, I don't really want to go that way.
Yeah, I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting.
Now, the question though is, what does the poo icon look like now?
Ooh, do we have a preview of the poo icon?
We have no poo. Not on this page.
Come
It
on.
still looks like
nerds.
crap.
What kind of reporting is this? How are you gonna report on emojis and then not talk about the poo? Some bullshit. You know what?
They didn't
Eric,
want to have a crappy post.
I'm sorry. Sorry I even brought this up.
They don't even have the eggplant emoji. Like, how are we gonna know?
Terrible reporting.
That's amazing, though. I like I like that this became an article. The people are like
He probably got paid for this. It got pitched and then edited and proofed, of course.
I think what's funniest though is like they do the comparisons between like Android and current
Apple.
Android, iOS, and sometimes even Microsoft, which Microsofts are pretty bad.
Microsoft's emojis look like they're trying to commit suicide.
Where do you even use Microsoft's emojis? Like, what devices?
You don't have like
On
an
your
emoji
Windows phone,
keyboard?
Shane. Jesus.
Hey, Eric and I have keyboards that are actual just emojis, so you gotta know where home is, and then you can type in emojis.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, where does Microsoft platform, like, where do you even use Microsoft's emojis? Skype?
Xbox,
Is that,
bro.
At work in Link.
there you
Late
go.
night Xbox chat rooms.
Are you guys running on any of your devices?
Nope.
I have it on my 5X.
Although I gotta say it didn't break, but I dropped my Nexus 6 a while back, and I think between that and having it at the lab, and sometimes it gets like sticky and waxy, and anyway, the power button
Got weed all over it.
got weed all over it, and it just doesn't work. But no, it's fine, as you can see. There's no cracks or anything. Maybe a little ding here. But the power button doesn't work all the time, and it's getting worse. Like, so pretty soon I'm not gonna be able to turn it on or off. I'll just have to shake it and then swipe up real quick. So I bought a Nexus 6P.
Really?
Should be here in a few days, Friday. I think.
What color, what size?
Ooh, gold.
Oh Lord.
No, I didn't get the gold. I actually
Now we're getting into the meat of it.
no, I got the chain.
Wow, I just had a flashback to something my ex-wife said. What
No.
color and what size?
No. I just went with the plain black one, 64 gig, because I'm not greedy. And I also don't have $600 to spend on a fucking phone.
Oh, good man.
How much they are if you go big and go shiny. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Everything I read said the camera was pretty amazing on it, and that it's 5.7, which is kind of my sweet spot.
Yeah, I had the 6. You'll like it more than the 6. The camera is really good. You'll
No.
like the camera.
I do take a lot of pictures of weed, so that'll be important.
Yeah,
And a
yeah,
baby.
and
I take baby pictures too.
so I have the 128 gig version of it, right? So I'll put all my music on there. I won't worry about taking video. Put
You're a
some
rich
movies
man.
on there, and I've used 27 gig of 111 usable storage. I've got like 80 gig of.
Feels like the greedy asshole. I could take my tablet, my Shield tablet back, and then just get the bigger one. But I kind of like playing games on the Shield tablet.
Oh, so with your new
Yeah,
internet,
nothing
have
wrong-
you done that?
No, I haven't renewed my subscription that I canceled to the GeForce Now
Grid.
or whatever. Because those games, they lagged a lot, and I just didn't play them. And I was looking at the selection, and it's not that great. So I just started playing Shadowgun Dead Zone, pretty much. That's about it. But I play it a lot.
Yeah, I gave up my Shield
Seven,
tablet to
no
my
big.
dad after his
What's that?
Nexus 7 died, so I gave him my my Shield tablet. So all I have is the Pixel right now.
Did you have the original or the next version, the K1?
I had the original one, the
Oh,
one that had the battery replaced. The K1 is the same innards, right? It just does much storage, and you don't have the LTE option.
Yeah, mine's just Wi-Fi. I like it.
That's a
I've been using it more now that I have fast internet at home again.
yeah. Your picture looks better. The
Yeah.
Pixel C though is still the
Son, 150. Count them. Cable's nice. It sucks that it's Comcast, but that's alright.
But Pixel C though is so far the best. Well, I don't know. The Shield tablets are pretty good. I love the Shield TV, but I'm digging the Pixel C. I like it better than the Nexus 9.
I almost got one of those.
So.
They're pretty nice.
No, you didn't mention if you're running. When you mentioned Android N, you said you had it on the 5X. Are you running it on the Pixel?
Yeah, I'm also running on the Pixel, so I can do side by side.
Yeah.
It's pretty stable. It runs really good on the Pixel. Like, you don't want you really even know I don't know how to. I don't know what's the best way to do this, but yeah, it runs really well on the Pixel C. Even the keyboard is not terrible. So I do use it mostly for a stand.
All right.
While you're playing around there, I'm just looking at the specs on the 6P, and by the way, if I were in the position of having to buy a new phone right now and I was stuck on the Nexus 6 line, I would definitely get the 64 gig too, because I mean the 32 versus the 64, when you buy it direct through Google, the price difference is $50. That's nothing, and you double your storage. To go to 128, it's another 100. Do you really need 128 gigs of storage on your phone?
Not for that much more, and if you look at what you're currently using, I bet it's not. So.
Oh, you kidding me? I'm not even touching the 64, and I've got the 64.
Yeah, and they're $50 off right now, right?
Yep.
The 6P.
Yep, and then they try and sell you a case for $50, and I was like, almost, except you didn't have the color I wanted, so sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna see
I
what
recently
they come
had
out
to get
with.
So I have
What, Eric?
I'm gonna see what they come out with at I/O. But honestly, I still love my Moto X 2014. So I might just stick with that for another year.
the camera is so much better on the 6P though. I mean, if you don't want to go, I have nothing else to say, Matt.
I was going to ask you if you know how annoying it is when you try and turn your phone off and you press the button but it doesn't turn off, and so you press it again and it doesn't turn off, so you gotta like hold it this way and like really press it. Like it's very annoying. That's how I'm justifying that.
I recently had to buy an iPhone SE for work. And I have to tell you, the fingerprint sensor is it's very clunky to use, even compared to a 5X. And it's like a child's toy. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh my God! Look at those hands, Jesus.
That's
Well,
what
Is that why you listen to Sasquatch podcast? You're looking for your father.
That's
I have a proper,
he's holding there, folks, in one hand.
I have appropriately sized hands, Eric. I'll have you know.
It depends upon what you deem appropriate.
That is super small. Though. Holy shit.
And this is a 5X, so you can see the comparison.
Yeah.
And then a 6P. I thought the 6 was too big. A 6P, it looks normal.
I heard that. Me too.
Yeah.
That's probably why I dropped it and the power button's stopping.
Yeah, I shattered the screen on the 5X already. Had to get it fixed.
Nice.
Oh well.
Hey.
Now, Matt, are you gonna get one of those funky new live cases now?
No, I was
For
going to
your
get a nice fold-up one like the Shield tablet has, because I like the idea that if the power button does happen to go, you just got to close the case and it turns it off, right? But they didn't have the one I wanted in the color I wanted, so.
Oh, well, the live cases have an extra NFC button, so I think that would double as your replacement too.
I don't know. I have a very strict size pocket in these carpenter pants that I bought a bunch of because my phone fit into it, so got to kind of keep the right size
I don't think we talked about these live cases though. Like, does anybody want to explain what they are?
What's a live case?
So you can either take a picture of your own picture and do some stylization to it. There's a so it's like almost like a Motor Maker build. You add a picture, you can do it as is, or you can stylize it, add textures, blah blah blah, or you can take a location from Google Maps and do the same thing. And then they have it for the 5X and the 6P and the 6 actually. And I'm not sure why they're called live, except that when you put the case on between the NFC connection, it also changes your background to match the case. And then there's a button, an extra button on the back of the case that you can assign to do some sort of action. And I don't know what it's going to be when I get the case, but there's also an app that goes with it too called Live. What's it called here? Live.
I feel like that was on Shark Tank that I just watched a little bit ago.
Maybe.
It was for iPhone, and so they were all out.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go to google.com/livecase, you can see it. I ordered one that has a map on it that signifies where we take the dogs walking a lot. Yeah, I'm just I don't know. We'll see how the quality of it. I'm not really sure why they call it live, other than it automatically associates a wallpaper with your case. So we'll see. But it's for price. Yeah, I mean cases, you can spend more than $35 for a good case already. You know, you can buy. All the good ones I've seen are at least $25.
That one was $50 on Play for the 6P, a fold one with the magnets that turns it off.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, this is $35. I mean, I have the standard Nexus cases on mine for protection and all that, which I think are probably the best cases that Google's ever put on that's sold in the store for themselves. So I'm curious how these live cases look. They look like they're a little slimmer than the standard cases that they have on there now. So.
Did you know that on average we spend 5 hours a day on our phones and possibly check it up to 85 times every day? More like every hour.
Yeah. Is that the iPhone story?
They're talking about how your phone might be able to tell when you might be depressed. Hey, bud, you feeling a little depressed? You've been checking out pictures of your ex on Facebook there for the last, 8 days. You doing okay? I haven't detected the sun, so you probably haven't gone outside. You all right? You all right, bud? Should I call someone?
Yeah, I wonder, do you think they do check? If you they do check to see if you're getting sunlight or anything like that?
I hope not. That's weird. Leave me alone.
I believe it's possible that your phone could. I mean, you could, as you guys mentioned, all that different information combined could probably run through a filter and determine if you're more likely to be depressed. But I don't think anybody's doing that right now. So.
They say that the results indicated that when participants were depressed, there were more missed calls, fewer outgoing text messages. Despite the lack of outgoing communication, screen time actually increased for depressed patients. Movement between towers was lower, so activity level was presumably lower. And this goes along with another study. They said it shows people who are depressed spend more time on social media, although not necessarily posting things. Just kind of looking at stuff.
Lurking.
Wishing, hoping, daydreaming.
I would imagine that you also examine what words they're using, like when they text people, when they post to Facebook. That sort of analysis would probably also be very telling to see if somebody is depressed, or better yet, like they mentioned, I think manic depression, bipolarism. Holy shit! That you could probably easily pick up on that just based on what people are doing.
Just based on people's emojis. I mean, if you're using smiley faces and then sad faces and then smiley faces again, clearly you're bipolar.
What is up with all these?
Let me jump in here because I threw this into the doc, and this was actually a blog post by a friend of mine who is bipolar. and she writes an awful lot on the subject. And it's a very interesting little thing because you would think that like word analysis would work. Oh, if you see the word depressed, or if you see the word unhappy, or if you see the word da-da-da-da-da, and it's amazing. It doesn't work because people self-censor.
Yeah, they're not posting that stuff. I mean, there's a handful in my Facebook feed that do, but there's, for the most part, you know, they're not.
Well, what are you? If it's on the phone, if we're talking about the phone, then you can look at what is this person typing and then backspacing.
And then look at
this
their
person
face
searching
and then be like, oh, they're just
Yeah.
masturbating again.
Why do they just look? They must be happy.
Why is their power button sticky?
I said I dropped it. Shut the fuck up.
That's one man's opinion.
The data collected in these studies is being used to develop apps that can snoop on your phone. That can help people recognize not only when they're having an episode, but they will likely be able to predict an oncoming episode. Honey, calm down. I think you're about to have an episode.
No, I have a number of people.
If my phone ever told me that shit, it would be out the window. Tell me to calm down.
Don't laugh. There is an app for cycle tracking for women.
This is completely different, Joey. Come on.
I know, but I'm telling you that does exist.
know.
It's not mental
We know,
illness.
We're in relationships.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Thank
Well,
you.
that
I'm
is-
even turning redder.
That is interesting because this is one of the few things people spend that much time with, and there's a lot of data to be had there. Should just make an app that collects data on people. We should do that.
Nobody's ever done that. That's a good idea.
Right? I have at least one of these a month. Alright, anything else? What else do you want to talk about? Spotty Android encryption? Apple got into that phone. Yeah. Buying third-party
Apple didn't.
exploits from ISIS, probably, pretty much.
Yeah, that was an interesting little piece of engineering. It had nothing to do with Apple after all. It was a third party that hacked Apple, which
Well,
says
didn't hack, just found an exploit in their OS, which there are many. They're always being found. They just found one that allowed them to do that. They didn't hack Apple. They didn't like get into iCloud or.
Okay, I'm sorry, hacked an Apple device with an exploit. Pardon my.
Thank you. This is Attack of the Androids. We gotta be, you know.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Pardon moi. But yeah, that was an interesting article and how that came about. Ironically, Apple's, I'm sure, spinning it as, we won, we didn't have to unlock the phone, when what they really ought to be saying is, oh crap, somebody found an exploit in our hardware, we're all screwed. But we won't hear about that part. It's censorship, people. But what is interesting is the distributed nature and the differences in the open source aspect of the platform means that you really lose control over who's using it and how they're using it. And one of the things that changes is that it's very hard to enforce a standardized method of encryption because not all encryption is supported by all hardware. And not all hardware can support encryption without serious performance diminishing problems.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the problem with that article, though, that's linked in the story, is like it doesn't consider what Samsung, as one of the largest Android manufacturers, what their phones are doing with security. Because some of their security.
But that's the point. Is that Samsung's doing their own thing, and Huawei is probably doing their own thing.
No, but Samsung's Knox stuff made it into Android, right? Like that was the thing they mentioned they mentioned at Google I/O. That Samsung security made it into Android. They Sundar Pichai thanked Samsung. So I'm just saying, like, when they say only 5.6% of phones are running Marshmallow, so that means everything is insecure. I don't think that's quite accurate because there's Samsung, and it's one of the largest manufacturers, and what percentage of their phones were encrypted. I'm just saying, like, it's not based on Marshmallow. There's more to it.
What would you say? Anything before KitKat or what?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know when Samsung started encrypting stuff. I'd say it probably wasn't before 64-bit. So it may be the
was around in
Samsung.
2014. So
Yeah, but-
2013, 2014.
I'd say S5 and up probably were secure. The notes probably secure. But all this does, as Joey though mentioned, of course, Apple has holes. Every one of these phones can be socially engineered. There's a video somewhere where somebody literally, if you trick somebody on an iPhone to go to a web page, you can install a profile that lets you do everything. That's it. And you can install keyloggers within minutes.
Just like, hey, dude, can I use your phone real quick? Just gotta make a real quick call.
Yeah, you could be literally that guy could go to a web page, install a profile on your phone, and you're fucked.
Hey, why are you opening up browser? Hey, what? What are you doing? Give me my phone back.
Yeah, you could probably do it under a minute.
Yeah.
So all these phones are, what the encryption protects you against is if you leave your phone somewhere, or you're doing something illegal, and the cops want your phone.
It removes you from being the low-hanging fruit, in which case there are many more pads, so they'll just move.
You both are overlooking two major sectors where encryption on devices is often considered to be a requirement, and that would be the financial sector and also the healthcare sector. If you even have the possibility of dealing with patient health information in any form on a mobile device, that device should be encrypted. Because if it's not, and it does get stolen, lost, whatever, the consequences of one person finding their health information leaked in terms of a lawsuit are ridiculous.
What are you worried about, though? You should have, like, text secure Signal, whatever it is now, Signal, for your messages. Any of your banking stuff, you have to type in the password every time. There's the Wells Fargo app doesn't save your password.
Yeah, but it's not about absolutes and security in terms of passwords.
No, I get that, but
it's about moving liability is what it boils down to. Because if you can look the auditor in the eye and say, "Hey, all of our mobile devices are encrypted," that may give you a pass versus a fail on some audit, because it is ultimately a good idea.
Encryption's so new, though. I can't imagine any of those organizations that many have caught up. Or that.
No, look how many hospitals are getting hit with that encryption bug.
Yeah, and again, the biggest threat to the average person is social engineering.
Someone just straight up taking your phone.
Yeah.
Or tricking you into going to a link on your phone,
Well, that's the idea behind the whole idea of like having encryption on the phone. Like you said, like it's the data at rest. It's the stuff that's sitting there when when you're at the airport and somebody jacks your phone or your laptop. And as far as like these organizations are concerned, like the past few years they've been using BlackBerry, which has been I forget what the encryption certification is, but like it was good enough for government and healthcare and everything like that, because it had such good encryption.
Except they gave the keys out.
Except they gave the keys away to these other governments. Like then it became an issue.
So much for that.
Yeah.
So the government of Iran can decrypt your CIA-issued BlackBerry. Perfect.
Fine. Hey, if they want to get into my Shield tablet and see how much ass I'm kicking in Shadowgun Dead Zone, go right ahead. I'll start posting that shit to my wall then. That's fine.
Mm.
You know what I've noticed lately? A lot of Spanish names in the games. Pretty much, it's like Groovy Matt and then a bunch of Eduardos and Consuelas and all that. It's pretty amusing. I don't know if I'm like just playing with Spanish people or if nobody else plays this game anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. We have a note, one quick note from the chat. So my brother works in healthcare IT, and he says that hospitals are getting hit with ransom and malware because there are too many systems classified by the FDA as a medical device. Hence, it is more difficult to apply security patches. So your pacemaker is insecure.
Is
I
this your
agree
brother?
completely, Chad. I agree completely. I used to be a system administrator in healthcare, and I completely agree.
Whoa. Bro, don't use his real name. His name's MB in the chat. Come
How
on.
could you? How could you? What was that, Shane?
I was going to ask you which brother this was.
The one that's in the chat.
The only brother. The only brother that matters.
By the way, are you back in the States, Eric?
The only brother.
Funny you should
Nice.
ask. So next week, this time, you probably won't see most of this behind me. I'm packing up. All next week is my pack out, and then I am back in the States in May.
Forever?
No. Nope. Then
Dude,
I'm off
why do
to
you not work-
Africa.
Why don't you work for like a private company and make some real money?
Ooh,
Maybe I will, Shane.
Ooh.
Maybe I will.
Ooh, hey, Eric,
Whoa.
Is that a
Boy.
job offer? Is that a job offer, Shane? What are you
Eric?
doing?
tell your boss taxation is theft, and we're pissed.
I'll be sure to tell that to my immediate supervisor.
I mean, you're gonna be what, a toady for Trump next year? Is that what I'm?
You refer to him as President Trump, sir.
Eric's feeling the burn, okay?
That's
Either
right.
way. Either way.
And
Sorry, Comrade Sanders.
Joey, you motherfucker. So, what do you guys think about Windows getting in, or not Windows, but Microsoft getting in on the Android game? Is this gonna save their mobile side?
Okay, so I think their only chance to ever be relevant making phones, if they want to make phones, is they have to make their own Android phones. That's it. Like, Windows Phone is going nowhere. If they're content to just focus on bundling Office and all that, that'd be fine too. But
Hey,
if they want really...
They're busy trying to auto-upgrade everyone to Windows 10, okay? They don't have time to be dicking around trying to make phones. This is important.
Yeah, I don't know what. I think they should. I mean, if they want to make phones, they should do Android. They should drop Windows Phone. It's ridiculous. No one's ever going to develop for it. This insane fantasy that people are going to develop apps for the desktop that are going to run on the phone is just ridiculous. And then, unless they pay people, no one's writing apps for it. Like, I'm in the app business, right? And we look at the numbers. No app developer where the action is, which is in mobile apps and services, is going to look at that 1.1% of the market that Windows has right now to ever develop for it.
Right. Eric, why don't you get in on some app development and make some real money huh? Enough of this pussy
don't know.
putting around, Eric. You're not getting any younger. Not getting any...
Ain't that the truth? We'll see what happens when I go back to the States.
Did you see how much that guy got paid to not secure Hillary Clinton's email server?
No, how much?
I think it was probably more than he made at this.
Oh, yeah, well, he wasn't even like he wasn't a State Department person, if I remember right. Like, wasn't he brought in by Hillary?
Yeah. Your former boss hired outside the state IT department. Apparently, you guys weren't hacking it to not secure our email server.
I really wish I could talk more about
totally
this.
see Eric in, like that dude from Hackers on his skateboard looking all goth and just like, who is he? He's in the system. He's in the
I'm not sure, Eric, why wouldn't you be able to talk? Clearly, they weren't concerned about security at the State Department.
It's like the mafia. You do not talk about the family.
Yeah, why weren't you in there securing that shit, Eric?
It was. I was surprised. I didn't even realize that
Drop the
a person
ball.
like that existed.
You
So-
now you have a goal.
I have a goal, something to aspire to.
So Joey does more corporate stuff. Does he have a comment on the Microsoft making Android?
Joey, Microsoft, Android.
Ironically, I think it might help them more than hurt them. I think it goes back to that whole comment that we've had in the past about why is iTunes on Android? Well, it's because they want to be everywhere that people are. And I think that if Microsoft is truly going to be a player in this cloud world, that they're going to have to embrace the fact that they're going to have to move sooner or later to a service-based model, and those services are going to have to be available on every single type of device that they possibly can be in order to get the greatest market share. Otherwise, people will just go somewhere else.
It's interesting that Cyanogen's in on this and working with them to get Cortana just like up in Cyanogen OS, just like right in there.
I have to say, I've not heard much about a new big launch from Cyanogen in quite a while.
That's because they've been busy trying to cram Cortana into Android.
Because you don't live in India.
That's right.
That's the thing, though. I think they even had trouble in it, like something happened in India where their phones weren't selling that well.
Yeah.
They lost some exclusive deal.
I think Cyanogen Mod is still going okay. Cyanogen, the company, I don't know. Like, it's very iffy. I think that them partnering with Microsoft is probably the best bet for both companies. I mean, I don't know that I would buy it because I like all the Google services, but I would totally consider a Microsoft phone. I wouldn't hate a Microsoft Cyanogen phone because I know that at least the base operating system is going to be good.
All right, here's the problem. How do you market it, though? It's no longer a pure Microsoft product. Neither is it a pure Android product. It's some
How does Samsung
sort of...
market it?
You carve Lenovo into selling it.
Joey, again, since we don't have an actual phone to look at, I would think if they're a company that's selling their Office 365, their Azure services to businesses, that they had a phone offering, they just say, look, we'll provide you the cloud, we'll provide you, the Office 365. Oh, and here's phone and phone management through their.
Yeah, but that ignores the current trend of BYOD. Bring your own device.
Yeah, but I think bring your own device is because people were generally offered crappy BlackBerry phones.
No, I think, but no. Whoa, I got a challenge on that one, Shane. Because BYOD is a cost-cutting move because it shifts the cost of the phone and the support and the access away from the company and onto the individual. Instead of the company incurring the entire cost of buying devices and plans and then telling the employee that they can't use it for personal use when they know darn well they're going to use it for personal use. Instead, the employee buys the phone, the employee buys the plan, they size it for how they want, and they get a standardized stipend to cover a fixed cost. It's a budget move. The business doesn't have to weigh data costs that fluctuate up and down because their 10-year-old kid grabs the phone and starts watching YouTube on it in the middle of the desert on 4G.
Yeah, but Joey, I can imagine moving companies to Azure and to off-prem cloud services plus a phone solution would overall be a cost cut. It could either be cost savings or cost neutrals. I mean, it all depends on how they do it. But you're asking how they would market it. That's how they could market it as as an add-on on top of their other services for businesses.
Maybe. Now, what's interesting though, a link off of that article that we were talking about this article right here says that now, according to the most recent shareholder reports, Windows now represents only 10% of the revenue that's brought in by Microsoft. Yep. It is fourth place in the revenue streams. So that in and of itself is incredibly interesting because that means that the 800-pound gorilla of the desktop world is no longer a significant portion. Okay, 10% is still significant, but 10% could also be lost and the company would still remain at 90%. This is probably one of the reasons why they're giving away Windows 10. They've realized that they're not making that much on it, so why not give it away rather than deal with piracy?
Yeah, one of the interesting is they could build Continuum into Android, because can you imagine being a road warrior and I mean, you just all you have to do is just carry around this phone and do all your stuff. You pop it in at work or when you're traveling.
But that again ignores the whole idea. If you had a smartphone that was as powerful as your laptop, you wouldn't need the laptop. And if you that whole one device that does everything.
That's never going to happen.
No, exactly. It's never going to happen because you cannot build the power of a desktop into a smartphone with a battery that will last long enough to make it worthwhile doing anything with.
That's why we have Chromebooks and desktops and all-in-ones.
No, I agree now, not as a replacement, but as a device, as a phone device, if you're using it for work, that would be a full productivity device. Because
the last job I had, I was doing mobile IT. I was a road warrior. I had several businesses I was in multiple times per week, but yes, I was a road warrior. I had a home office, I had an on-site office in a couple locations, and then other times I would be on the road. So I was literally working out of the car, basically. And I had a 5-inch phone, an HTC One. I had the help me out, the Asus tablet, Matt, that you and I had that had the dock.
The Transformer.
Thank you, the Transformer with the dock. And I had a 15-inch Windows laptop. And the problem was that 15-inch, that 10-inch screen sat in the bag 90% of the time because I either needed the ability to talk on it or be portable, meaning the phone, or I needed the full power of the PC because of the apps that I needed to run. And there was no middle ground for me. And that's what...
Then just carry that around.
Yeah. I mean, that was the hard part, was that you can't have one device to do everything. That's why there's multiple devices. And I keep hearing that up. I keep hearing that and hearing that and hearing that. Oh, we'll get to the point where I only have one device. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, it will when it's implanted in your brain. I was going to say butt. In your brain.
But I'll say this, Joey. Like I'm a firm believer that the idea of tablets replacing a laptop and everybody typing on glass hunched over is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And the idea that all right. So I'm a big firm believer in desktops and laptops, but as the app developer, I can see where a lot of things that require PCs now are not going to require PCs in the future. That with cloud computing and increased network speeds, that your device doesn't have to be as powerful as it was. Like Matt just said, Chromebooks, right? Every phone we have, our Nexus 6Ps are all more powerful probably than a Chromebook.
We got a pretty powerful Chromebook.
Okay, well, some of the cheaper Chromebooks. So it is possible that apps can be built around that. So that is where Microsoft has a chance. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. But,
but Microsoft has traditionally not done very well trying to be small and lean and efficient.
Microsoft should quit messing around with that crap and focus on how to bring Xbox games into PlayStation VR.
Well, ironically, that was a little bit of a shocking kick in the head to me that Xbox is a bigger moneymaker both in absolute terms and in percentage for them than Windows is now. That just blew my mind.
Yeah, does that account for all the? Hey. Is that right though? Because there's huge R&D costs well beyond with Windows.
Yeah, but they come out with like one every 8 years. Like they've recouped since in that time frame.
I thought I heard not that long ago that over the years they still had not made any money. They were still in the red. With, but Xbox.
Then you look at fine, but let me tell you a brief story about the way Sears used to sell socket sets. They'd give you the ratchet, but they'd charge you for the sockets to put on the ratchet. You can give away Windows, and then you can sell people Office. And when you do that, you make 1,000% on Office, and you give away the Windows platform to run it on. And everyone's happy.
No, I understand, Joey, but I'm just saying, everybody. I hear this a lot from Paul Thuraz, that everybody thinks that Xbox is loved and successful, but they've sold like 80 million total Xboxes in like 20 years, and it hasn't made that much money. Like same with Bing, it hasn't made that much money, and because there's hardware costs associated with it. But that may change with Windows 10, I guess, since they are giving it away.
Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Even if they're not making money, do you think that it at least keeps them relevant and maybe somewhat, not inventive, but you know what I mean, like
innovative,
creative, I guess, innovative.
if you can,
Because if they were still just doing Office and Windows and they weren't doing any of the other stuff, even if it doesn't make a lot of money, would their stock price still be as stable as it is?
Yeah, I think the shock to me though is how poorly the Xbox One has done compared to the PS4.
well, the
They
Xbox
sort of
One
bungled
is
that launch though. Go on, Joey.
the Xbox One, in my opinion, isn't all that much better than the 360. So if you bought a 360, you might not want to buy the One. Just a thought. That's just my take on it. I'm not a gamer, so maybe there's something I've overlooked. But one thing about you were saying about using Xbox as a marketing tool, I can't tell you the number of people I have run into up here that I went to school with, that I grew up with, that I now run into in a professional capacity, and they've got Macs. And the reason why they've got Macs is because we had Macs when we were in school. And I'm just saying that that is definitely something that Apple started back in the 80s, and it's paying dividends now. So if you can get into people's hearts and minds when the Microsoft Xbox at age 10, when they start playing shooters, when they're 30 and 40, Microsoft is going to be a warm and fuzzy memory to help them out with their professional
That's why I
life.
still use DOS.
That's why Nintendo is still so popular. I mean,
Actually, I think it might be.
all right, Eric, what's our email address?
Our email address is show@attackoftheandroids.com.
Ah, music to my ears. Attackoftheandroids.com. Check it out. And hey, if you're lucky enough to have Google Play Music with podcasts, check us out there. Subscribe and see how that works. Yeah, attackoftheandroids.com. Thanks for listening. Good night, everyone.